are good to go. Let me go to the front. There we go. Okay, guys, well, welcome to the call. And if you have any questions during the talk, then you can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can always type in the chat box. And Carrie will kind of manage that while I'm talking, and I'll do the same while she's sharing. So we're so excited to have you guys join us to talk about something that is really kind of on our hearts, something that we are passionate about, and something that I hope that you guys will be excited about and really want to get behind, because this is really all about kind of our future and where everything is going, right? Looked like something was wrong with my recording, but it's not. I'm good. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about myself first, because I know that there are some people on the call that maybe don't know me and don't know anything about my background. So my name is Julie. I am a Christian. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of twins. I am a diamond leader within doTERRA, and I'm also a nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse practitioner for about 17 years. I work in a cardiology practice, and I also teach at Emory University in Atlanta. But about probably 5.5 to 6 years ago, I really started adopting more of a holistic-based lifestyle. Before that, yes, nutrition and exercise, those things were important to me, kind of the things that we all already know are important. But about 5.5 years ago is when I really started to bring other tools in, like essential oils and supplements, self-care, which we'll talk a little bit about a little bit later. But that is where it really all started for me. And that's where it really has to start for everyone. It has to start with you. And then what I saw is then it was extended to my family, and then to my friends, and then to my patients and the community. And that's where the movement really begins, is when we start to model, this approach for other people, right? So this kind of really excited me when I started seeing that, and people were interested in learning more about wellness and how they could heal their bodies naturally, which is really the way God intended it. So I started seeing kind of these results on myself and on my family. And then I really felt like I had not only an opportunity, but an obligation to educate other people. And so that's kind of where the education for me really started. That's what really kind of has driven me and made me really excited about this whole wellness movement that we're going to talk more about. So that's where I am today, along with many others. We're leading a wellness movement to bring this message and to let other people know that, there are other options than just your traditional healthcare, but also not to just like my immediate circle, but beyond that. And that's really where it starts, is with you, and then it's just kind of a ripple effect. So tonight, I want to really just invite you to learn more about this movement and how you can become a part of it, which we'll also discuss. So I want to talk about integrative medicine. That's kind of where the healthcare of the future is going. So integrative medicine combines both conventional or traditional or Western medicine, all that kind of means the same thing, with complementary and alternative therapies. So integrative medicine really treats the entire person as a whole and not just the disease. This is so important, right? We're often putting Band-Aids on problems, and we're not getting at the root cause disease or the issue that's going on. So this is where I think integrative medicine is the perfect marriage between traditional and holistic medicine. That's really what integrative medicine is. So I want to just kind of give you an example. Let's say you came in to see a practitioner who took an integrative approach to medicine. Let's say you had a headache. Then instead of just saying, oh, okay, well, you have a headache, you have chronic headaches, here's a prescription for that. It's going to help treat the pain, Okay, good, you're good, then we're done, right? That's kind of the traditional approach. But integrative medicine says, okay, so you have a headache, you have maybe chronic headaches. Why do you have those? Let's get at the underlying root cause and let's heal that problem, which will then fix everything, really, right? We're not putting a Band-Aid on anything. We're actually getting down to the root cause of what is going on. And then not only that, we are offering, integrative medicine offers solutions, like essential oils is just one area or one type of approach that could be used in integrative medicine. I'll talk about a few more in just a minute, but that's just kind of one example of how we can support the body to help it heal itself and get at the root cause of what's going on. I think that Carrie and I really both agree, and sometimes people get the wrong impression, I find, but we both are in agreement that there is and always will be a place for traditional medicine. But if you can reach for something natural first, if you can merge the two, holistic and traditional medicine, then really everybody wins. Not only the patients and consumers, but also the providers. Because I'm going to talk in just a minute about how when we merge the two, the relationship with the patient and the provider becomes what it should be. It becomes a partnership, which that's what really, as a healthcare professional, really, really excites me, because that is the way that it should be.
So Julie, hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Can the 321 number mute themselves? I think they might have hopped on after we started, and it kind of keeps going background noise. I just wanted to see if they could do that. Thank you.
Did they mute? Somebody is still not.
I'm not sure. I'm going to have to stop share to mute everybody, so hold tight just a second here.
Okay.
Although, I think you're going to have to mute everybody because you're the host, Julie.
Yes. Okay. Give me 1 second. It's like it takes a second for the mute to actually pop up to give me that option, but it's okay. Let's see if I got everybody.
You can do mute all under participants.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, I see here. Okay. Got it.
Got it? Okay.
Continue. Okay. Yes. Okay. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, and you can go to the next slide too. Okay, so let's talk about some principles of integrative medicine. So as I just mentioned, this is really a relationship with the provider, or among the provider and the patient. And that is where everything really changes from here, because it's more of a partnership. You know, a lot of times patients kind of just do whatever the provider tells them that they should, because they don't know any different. They don't know how to take their health into their own hands. They're trusting what providers are telling them, right? Sometimes we've even been guilty of that, right? I'm sure, I know I can even relate to that at times in my life. So there's a provider-patient relationship. And integrative medicine also investigates what the underlying cause is. As I said, it gets to the root of the problem and does not just put a Band-Aid on it. It combines both traditional and alternative medicine practices. And the goal, this is key. The goal is to bring the person into wellness and not just manage their sickness. So I want you to just think about that for a minute. I'm going to say it again. The goal of an integrative approach to medicine is to bring the person into wellness and not just manage their sickness. And that's often what we do in traditional medicine, is we just manage the sickness. We compartmentalize, things, and we don't look at the patient as a whole, and we manage the sickness. So I think this is just huge. If we can get providers on board with this integrative approach. And again, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, how that's already happening in some areas. And it's just going to grow and grow into the areas that we're in. So it's still very science-based. Integrative medicine is still very science-based. And that's important. That's important to a lot of people. I know that it's important to those of us who are healthcare providers, because that's what we learned, right? In traditional medicine, we learned about all the science behind everything, and this is why you do this. And that's all great information. But sometimes when we start talking about holistic, alternative approaches, then sometimes that's kind of seen as like woo-woo stuff, right? I mean, I used to think that. I was totally guilty of thinking that. Before I started using essential oils, I was like, really had not heard a lot about them. And when I first started using them, I thought, gosh, did that really work? I mean, was it just in my head? Maybe it was like placebo effect. I mean, I don't know. Like, what's going on here? Did this actually work for me? And for a while, I did. I thought it was kind of like woo-woo. But the nice thing is, first of all, it's not. Second of all of the things that I'm going to talk about that can be components of integrative medicine are all backed by science. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And then the last point that I want to make here is that integrative medicine is much less invasive. So anytime we can do something that is less invasive, that works with our body, and that is effective, that's where we want to be. Like, that's a win-win for everybody. So, Carrie, you can go to the next slide if you don't mind. Okay, so speaking about alternative treatments. So now you might be thinking, okay, great. So integrative medicine merges traditional with these alternative therapies. So what all alternative therapies might I be referring to? So the first thing is diet. I mean, guys, we all know how important diet is, right? It could literally fix and treat so many issues that we face as a society today if we just change the things that we ate. But in integrative medicine, that's really a big focus. So the focus is really on educating people and patients on the importance of filling your body with whole foods, eliminating the toxins, getting rid of the processed foods. Things that sometimes we hear but don't really resonate with us. And I'm hoping that what will happen here is that when patients really start hearing this over and over from their medical healthcare provider, that they'll really want to, start taking their health into their own hands and making those positive changes. And sometimes, guys, it is really just a lack of knowledge. It honestly is. I cannot tell you how many times I've educated patients and been surprised at the fact that they didn't know all these processed foods were terrible for their body. Or how about this? How about the fact that we were programmed for so long to think that low fat was good and that we should have low fat everything? Well, low fat pretty much just means it's full of other additives like sugar and unhealthy toxins and chemicals. But people still, I find, are in that mindset of, well, I need to get low fat. So this is just really education and bringing people into awareness. I love the quote that every time we eat or drink, we are either feeding disease or fighting it, right? You guys have probably heard that before, but it is so true. It's all about the nutrients that we're putting into our body. It's, are we filling our body with whole foods that are colorful and vibrant, or are we eating from a box and going through a drive-through? And sometimes that's the easiest way to make people see, to make my patients see that, at least. If I kind of put it in those terms, that helps them to kind of really get the visual and understand. So being aware of this and modeling the behavior for those around us is key, right? Because any kind of wellness movement starts with you. Starts with me. What if I were trying to educate patients all day long on the fact that they needed to eat whole foods and drink more water, but I was going through a drive-through every day or eating out of a box every day? I mean, that's not modeling good behavior, not only for the people, for me talking to patients or whatever, but for my family, right? So this could just start with one simple choice, one simple upgrade, like drinking more water, maybe if you're not there yet, maybe if this is speaking to you and you're thinking, gosh, I need to make some modifications, maybe it's just about drinking more water first. Just take it very simple, start slow, and then those are habits that are going to stick. And then what's going to happen is you are going to model that behavior for others. That's then going to kind of ripple out. The second thing that an integrative approach would focus on is daily movement. So we know how important it is to move our bodies every day in the form, not necessarily in the form of just a rigid exercise regimen, but just movement. I talk to people all the time that think that if they don't, and I used to be one of these people. I kind of had this concept in my mind years ago. You know, if I'm not working out for 45 minutes to an hour every day, that I'm not doing what I need to do. And some people think that if they can only walk for 10 minutes, that, well, you know, that doesn't do anything. Well, that's better than none, right? So just kind of really making sure, especially those of us who are healthcare professionals on here, that patients really understand that. The next area is supplementation. Now, I will have to say that I was really kind of against, not against, I don't want to, that's too strong of a word. I was really naive to the fact that supplementation is so important. Our food is just really void of the micronutrients that our bodies need. The way that our food is processed, the soil conditions, it just doesn't have the micronutrients that it maybe did way back, hundreds of thousands of years ago, because of, all the chemicals and all of the processing. So our bodies need optimal supplementation to function at a really high level. So that means that you need bioavailable supplements, like a really good multivitamin. You need really good probiotics, digestive enzymes. Those are just some of the supplements that are really key for our bodies to function at a high level. And doTERRA makes amazing supplements, as probably most of you who are on here already know. Their supplements are bioavailable. They're just very high quality, and that's what you want. So the third thing, alternative type medicine that will be included in that integrative medicine approach is essential oils. And we're going to talk specifically in a few minutes about some healthcare clinics that are being developed that will be using essential oils. So this is super exciting. But oils date back thousands of years, right? I mean, this is not a new concept. And so that's what I kind of like to always relate to people and tell people, this is what our ancestors used for healing before the pharmaceutical companies came around and man-made all of these really toxins, right? And not that some of that is not necessary, and that we don't need to reach for that sometimes. But we've really gotten away from our roots and from what really works with our bodies. So that's really where essential oils will come into the picture. The next area is massage. Integrative medicine incorporates massage when appropriate for the patient. Massage has been scientifically shown to reduce stress, to strengthen the immune system. So when you get massage, it helps to drain the lymphatic system. So that helps to rid toxins from the body. That's the cause of much of our chronic diseases that we have is from toxic buildup. So massage helps that to rid the body of toxins. And then it also has been shown to enhance mood. So it basically, you release those kind of happy, feel-good chemicals. So it enhances mood. Now, the next area is mindfulness and meditation. And there's actually been a lot of attention, a lot more attention around this recently. I feel like when I say recently, I mean, in the last probably year or two. But more and more people, I find, are becoming aware of the benefits to meditation. And honestly, if you think about it, this one is really hard for me. This one is one that I work on constantly because I'm not good at slowing down. I'm just very much like, let's go to the next thing. But I know that it's super important. But we really all need to kind of slow down, calm down sometimes, because the world is so extremely fast-paced. We can develop stress and anxiety just from what's going on around us. So mindfulness and meditation has been shown to lower stress and anxiety. And the other thing that I find really interesting is it has been shown to increase focus and productivity, which is huge. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I want all the focus I can get and all the productivity that I can get. And then lastly, an alternative approach that will be included in integrative medicine is acupuncture. So acupuncture has been shown to reduce pain and inflammation, and it also helps to improve circulation. So these are some of the alternative therapies that if you were going to an integrative medical provider, or maybe if you're in the healthcare field and you were in a practice that has adopted integrative medicine, these are the type of things that you would be seeing recommended to patients, that you would be recommending to patients, in addition to traditional therapy when it's necessary. So always alternative and natural first, if that is a good option for the patient, and then of course, merging the traditional with it. Okay, and lastly, Carrie, if you'll go to the next slide, I want to talk just for a second about prevention. So this slide really reminded me, so she has a pen in her hand, right? For some reason, when I saw this, it just really reminded me of writing a prescription. And so I thought, what if we could write a prescription for prevention? Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, I don't know, those of you who are in the healthcare field, I was like, yeah, if we could write a prescription for prevention and patients would fill it and it worked, then, I mean, gosh, that would be amazing. So investing in our health and in the health of our families is really where this starts. And this is where, you can start just as an individual. Then, as I said, it just spills out and overflows onto those that are around us, right? Onto those that are not only maybe our family, our friends, but also people in the workplace. As healthcare professionals, if that's you, I would say you can begin a conversation with not only patients to help educate them on this information, but also with your colleagues about how effective an integrative approach really is and can be. So that's where it all starts, is just with those, us taking care of ourselves, and then those conversations that we're open and willing to have. And also, as a patient, you can talk to your provider about that. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But self-care is, we hear a lot about self-care. Self-care is huge. That's where it starts. And I want to share with you guys a quote from Convention. One of the physicians that was on a panel that we were listening to, and I cannot remember her name, but she said, and I loved this, I wrote it down. She said, self-care is healthcare. And I was like, yes, that is so true. Self-care is healthcare, right? That's where it's all completely where it all starts. So Carrie is going to share with us next a little bit about her story, and then about some of the exciting stuff that's coming.
Thank you, Julie. That was great. I was sitting here thinking that, sometimes we get so wrapped up in the norm and what we're used to, and all of that, and the busyness, and just in the grind, I would say. And just sitting here listening to mindfulness and massage and acupuncture, and I was thinking, I bet some people are like, we ain't got time for that. It's just funny how you get in that model, and then you're just, because we're going to talk about this too, they just push you so hard in your job now as a healthcare provider to just do more. And then we'll talk about why. But I love the way that you described how the approach should be, because it sounds so great, because it should be that great, right? So I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I have not been able to man the chat box because I'm sharing my screen. So Julie, if you wouldn't mind just making sure nobody has any questions or comments, we'd love for you to interact with us via the chat if you want. So my name is Carrie, Carrie Cootie. I'm Julie's sister. I'm a Christian, a wife, and a mom of two. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I'm a pharmacist. I do currently practice. I've been a pharmacist for 11 years. I graduated 11 years ago. I worked in retail for about 6 months and then spent most of my full-time career in long-term care pharmacy. And I'm also a Blue Diamond leader with doTERRA. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my thoughts around maybe how I'm here speaking to all of you, because sometimes it's so surreal. It seems like it was just yesterday that I was still plugging away in the pharmacy, or I was just in pharmacy school. Years go by so quick, but I just remember wanting to get into a field that I could really help people. I love to solve problems and I love to serve people, and just really wanted to do that. So I started working in a pharmacy when I was 16 and felt like I was helpful, in the job that I was doing. And, when I look back, I feel like pharmacy was much different. And I know there's a few pharmacists on that can probably relate to that, especially that many years ago. I'm 35 now, so it's a good many years ago. It's definitely changed a lot since then. I saw the prescription rate go up from about 2 prescriptions to probably 10 plus prescriptions per patient. And to me, when I first started practicing, when I graduated pharmacy school, it's exciting and it's new and you're learning all this stuff and it's great. And then, then I just slowly started to realize, the prescription rate kind of went up, and it was just a lot different than when I had been, a pharmacy tech and was, worked so long ago. So, that really was, I think, the first clue to me that I almost dreamed of something different. I think sometimes we just can't even kind of think in our mind, what would this be like? But I know I would like for things to be different, right? I just knew the model was broken. I mean, pretty much. And I think most of us can say that on this call, I would say. So that's kind of when my wheels started turning. Well, I really want to take care of myself differently. And it was after I had my daughter that I really decided, what do I want to model for her? Because, they tend to do what we teach them, right? And what we do. I mean, I think a lot of us can say, well, we just do that because our mom did it. So that really weighed heavy on me as I became a mom. And I know many of you, maybe expecting your first child or have children. It's just something that you think about a little bit more. I don't know where that line just came from. But anyway, so I think that's kind of where it all started for me. And it wasn't, like Julie said, really until I started taking care of my own self better that I realized that is where it all starts, because you can't really lead and guide somebody else, even your children, in a different direction until you do that. And just, I know we're going to talk about this. I just saw modern medicine and natural medicine being this great marriage. I don't see it as being one or the other. I just don't see it as being black and white like that. I'm very thankful for modern medicine, and I'm thankful for all the knowledge that I have. I definitely am just so grateful for the education that I have. But I just know that there is a different way that we can do things preventatively. I love that modern medicine is there, but I'm so grateful for prevention. So I think that's really the theme, I think, of tonight is you can do so much for prevention to change this whole model. So that's a little bit about me and kind of how I got here, and those blue lines are don't know where they came from. Anyway, so I want to dive into why is a change in healthcare necessary, because Julie went into kind of what does integrative medicine look like, and how can we take care of ourselves better, different things like that. But I really want to dive into, why is it broken? I just put this graphic up because I felt like it's pretty telling, right? I mean, 7 out of the top 10 causes of death in 2010 were chronic illnesses. And, if we took better care of ourselves and took healthcare in our own hands, that would be way down from there. It's when we spend 85% of our healthcare dollars on those chronic illnesses that we realize the system is super broken. I want you to just consider the following scenario of what a typical doctor's visit would look like in a typical way of caring for yourself would kind of look like now, I guess you could say, in these times. So a 40-year-old woman has her yearly physical a few months ago, and she was informed that she has high cholesterol and is overweight. Her 15-minute visit went like this. The doctor walked in, and he looked at her lab work and vital signs. Then he shined a light in her eyes, her nose, and her mouth, and he did a quick stethoscope check to see if her heart and lungs sounded good. Finally, he sat down and wrote out a prescription for a drug to lower her cholesterol. He also advised her to lose some weight, and he asked her to return in 6 months, smiled, and hurried out of the door. I mean, does that sound familiar? You know, it's kind of like what we've all probably experienced one time or another. And I just think we can't put all of this on physicians either. I definitely don't want you to think that that's what we're saying or that's what I'm saying. I do feel like it's, you know, that they got very little training in when they went to school. You know, I looked it up, and it was actually an average of 7 hours that they got trained in any kind of nutritional studies, or alternative medicine is very little. So that's why, you know, we can't really blame them. They're just doing what they know. And we'll talk about, they're very pushed to see more patients. That's why, you know, really the average time, she got almost twice the amount of the average time. The average time that a doctor see a patient is 7 minutes. And you can't really do much in 7 minutes other than those things that I just mentioned. You know, that's why I am so excited that doTERRA is really forging the way to change healthcare. And one of the ways that they are doing that is opening up clinics. And these clinics are going to be a huge answer to turning this problem around. You know, I just mentioned providers, they don't get reimbursed anywhere near what they used to from the insurance. So, and that's only getting worse. You know, basically you have to see so many more patients now to make the same amount of money just to get by. Which means that consumers and patients, there's just less time, and which means basically less than optimal care. So the new healthcare clinics that doTERRA is opening, that Julie will talk more about in a few minutes, their average time that they'll see a patient is 30 to 60 minutes, which is like, holy cow, what we even talk about for 30 or 60 minutes, right? All those things that Julie mentioned about integrative care, you know, and which no doctor, I guess, in the modern medicine world would have that much time to take with a patient, I mean, in realistic terms. So I'm just excited about this because, you know, if you want to see change, you have to forge the way in that. And they're really doing it the right way. And I'm super excited to be a part of it. I also just kind of wanted to kind of reiterate about just the fix-it model. And that's kind of really what I felt very heavily as a pharmacist, that I was just handing out Band-Aids all the time. Like, just, here you go, you know, and really, you know, when you work in a pharmacy, nobody's really excited to be there because they really don't want to be taking that anyway, but they don't feel like they have any choice. And it's just, you know, it's just the hamster wheel that's going, that's, you know, it's going to be hard to stop, but these things that we're talking about are how you slowly start to change the tide. And, you know, if you think about it, in speaking about chronic illnesses, the majority of costs go toward life-threatening crisis. And it's like we devote all our money to fixing the train crash, but little into the train upkeep. So really, if you were to ensure that the train, which would be you, would run well, then it would save ourselves so much time and money and heartache in the end, but that's less chronic disease. So, you know, in general, modern medicine was really transformed when they introduced antibiotics, and really that was the cure-all pill. And I think we're so just into that model that now we want the quick fix, right? We want that pill that we're going to take, or that thing we're going to do, and it's going to be instant, and this is going to be fixed. So I think really, honestly, it's just opening our minds up to, hey, there might be a different way. We may need to change things, and let's look at things a little bit differently. So in talking about that, you know, why is America so sick? You know, as a society, we're less active. We're less productive. You know, the motto seems to be, if it's we'll just wait till it's broke and then we'll fix it, because it's just easier that way, right? We don't have to worry about things. We don't have to take care of ourselves. We're just going to take the quick fix and we're just going to keep on going about our day. The real truth, when I started thinking about this really in depth, I would say we're really addicted to busyness, the quick fix, and we're also addicted to sugar, which that's a whole another conversation. But those things are a huge detriment to our health. The fact that we are constantly just engaged and busy and always going, all those things that Julie mentioned about integrative health, that's really how you take charge of your own health and start to turn the dial the other way, which is just, I can't even tell you how much of a difference you'll feel if you even think about slowing down and being mindful. It's amazing. But in thinking about that, we want quick, we want easy, we want convenient. And a lot of this, I feel, happened, when mothers started going back to work and we needed something convenient and quick. And that's kind of when all those foods started coming out, the processed foods. And you can just see a decline in health since then, in my opinion. And so, it's not, that's what I want you guys to kind of see tonight. It really is an integrative approach. It can't be just one thing. It has to look at the entire picture. And two, I feel like we put our health in other people's hands a lot. Some people, that's all they know. They won't really take anybody else where they want to hear the doctor say it, or they want the doctor to recommend it, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I value doctors' opinions and of course, and all of that. I just think that we know our bodies the best. A lot of times we know our kids' bodies the best, and we really have to listen to that. It's not until we start listening to our own bodies that things really start to change. Because if we just are in go mode and we're just in survival mode, honestly, we're not listening to those cues when maybe we just feel, we don't feel our best and we just keep on not feeling our best. And then these chronic diseases start showing up. I mean, that's honestly where we really go wrong. And it starts with, just like I said, where a lot of us are in survival mode, and society has made it super easy to follow that. And then it's really called the norm now, I would say. So Julie's going to talk a little bit about what the future looks like with these new clinics.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Good information. So I just want to just piggyback on something that Carrie said. If you had a healthcare provider spend 30 to 60 minutes with you, like, how would that make you feel, right? I mean, because I am a provider that goes in and sees patients, and I like to think that I take as much time as I can to educate them, and I'll often ask them or give them options. Typically, if we're talking like the example of cholesterol, I'll talk about the fact that, if we make these lifestyle changes, and I'll kind of go over all that, diet, exercise, that kind of stuff, then we can avoid this medication. But what's so sad is I find a good majority of people, after I go through what seems like 5 or more minutes of this talk on lifestyle changes, will just look me in the eye and say, just give me a pill. And I remember the first time that happened to me, it just like almost broke my heart, because I thought, all this like amazing information I just gave you, and you just want another pill? No, so it's hard to, I would say, on healthcare professionals, that are trying to educate. But, I had to then look and tell myself, you know what? Okay, this person might not be ready to accept that information, but that doesn't mean I can give up. I have to continue with the next one and the next one and the next one. So, but if you had a provider that spent 30 to 60 minutes with you just talking about you and what issues you had and getting at the root of the problem and partnering with you, I mean, y'all, that just sounds amazing to me. I mean, that just like, yes. So these Prime Meridian health clinics, this is what they're going to be called. These are clinics that doTERRA is putting all over the country, and they'll eventually be in other parts of the world as well. But they're called Prime Meridian. And they are, I just want to kind of give you a brief kind of rundown of what they're going to look like, and I'll tell you where the first ones are coming to. So these are going to have, it's going to be more of kind of an urgent care. They'll have urgent care there. They'll have in-house imaging. But not only there on site, they also have telemedicine options, which I think is really great. I mean, in some areas, telemedicine is already up and going. But think about this as a scenario. You have the flu. Let's say you want something, to help you. You go in, you decide you're going to go into an urgent care center. Well, number one, you probably really just don't feel like it, right? If you have the flu. Number two, the providers there and certainly the other patients don't really want you to come down there because then you're exposing everyone, right? So if they could see you over telemedicine, talk to you about your symptoms, see what you look like, then they could pretty easily with the flu say, okay, well, it looks like you have the flu. Here's what we're going to do. And so things like that, I think telemedicine is huge when used, in the right way. I think that will be great. But one thing that I love about these Prime Meridian clinics and this model is that one of their biggest goals is to lower healthcare costs. And that's why the healthcare system, or that's one of the reasons the healthcare system is so broken. This is going to be a direct pay model. It's going to have nothing to do with insurance. And really, that's the whole problem now with, reimbursement. And that's why providers are having to see, twice as many patients to even make the same amount that they used to, years ago when they got better reimbursement. So that's why it's the, fast-paced, busy, the patient doesn't seem to get any attention, which sometimes isn't really even completely a fault of the provider because they're pushed to see all these patients or they can't really make a living. A lot of doctors are shutting down their practices and going in, being bought out by hospitals for that very reason. They just can't sustain any longer. So this is a direct pay model, no insurance. And from what I've heard, the costs are going to be really affordable. There's actually one of the first locations is in Nashville. And I heard just a brief part of a talk on that just the other night. And I don't want to quote because I can't remember the exact numbers, but I remember they were talking about, like, let's say you have a family and the first person, like the adult, was X amount of dollars. And then, they added like spouse and then children, like most healthcare plans. But once I think it was, 3 kids, then you don't pay anymore after that. And the kids were like, I want to say like $18 a month. Like it was, I can't remember how much the adults were, so I don't want to misspeak and tell you that. But I mean, it was very affordable, especially for what you get from it, I thought. And so one of the biggest goals here is to improve patient outcomes by focusing on the body as a whole, just like we've been talking about, focusing on the whole body and getting at the root of the problem. So this is a real patient-centric model. So it really is focused on the patient. The other thing that I love about it is they're going to be doing ongoing research. So this is so important to me because they're gathering data that then they can use to correct, to tweak, to make modifications as they go. So it's going to be an ongoing process, which I love. So, it's kind of the opposite of, wait till something is broken and then fix it. No, like we need to start making these modifications as we go. So I love that. Now there's 3 opening this year, or that will be open by December, January, let's say. And that is Tennessee, Arizona, and Utah. And there are locations, there are many other planned locations next year in 2019, and Atlanta is actually one of them. So I know a lot of us are, from the Middle Georgia area that are on. So that would be the closest one to us. So super, super exciting. But now you might be sitting here thinking, well, like, what if I don't live in one of those areas? Well, hopefully, that's why we're so passionate about this, because we want this to come to our area sooner. Like we want to get the message out there, to get the word out there, and to get people on board with this wellness movement. But if you don't live near one of those areas, then I would encourage you to seek out providers that are open to integrative medicine or that are open to alternative therapies. If if that's how you want to take care of yourself, you know, your body and your family, but you're going to a provider who is completely against it, then that's not the provider you need to be going to. I mean, that's just my opinion on that. And there are many providers that maybe even if they're not, you know, recommending things, they're open to it, right? And so that's where you as a patient can help to educate providers, is by bringing these things to their attention and saying, you know, do your own research, you know, have your information with you when you go and say, I want to try this. Can you refer me for this? You know, whatever the case may be. But seek out those providers. And Carrie's going to talk a little bit more about other things that you can do right now and how you can really join this movement.
Yes, these blue lines are really cracking me up. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get this off. Doesn't that sound awesome? Like, if that's the first time you've heard about the clinics, I'm so excited about them. So how do you join in this movement? I must tell you that it starts with you. You have to take care of yourself and your family in a different way. You know, it has to start with that. And two, I mentioned this earlier, but just raising up the next generation is so critical, because they're the ones, you know, that are going to really be used to whatever we're doing, right? We have to raise them up in a different way, and we have to model this for them. And they're the generation that's going to be taking care of us. So we want to invest wisely in them for sure. So I feel that it's very important to just start by sharing alternative options like essential oils with other people, including your healthcare provider. You know, I mean, when you say you're using essential oils and you actually, you know, have a little bit of, well, I've been using them this way and I've seen this, and you talk to them about it a little bit, they're much more open than if you were to just say, what about, you know, do you know anything about these? Or I was using this. Just make sure you tell them how you're using it and what benefits you've seen. And that's really going to start opening them up to, wow, well, maybe these actually do work, and these alternative therapies may be a great thing to try. You just never know what you're going to say that might open somebody's mind, including your healthcare providers. Don't be scared of that. And like Julie said, if they're not open, then you might want to think about going to someone else. Just a suggestion. So if you are a healthcare provider, introduce options to your colleagues and educate your patients. And like Julie said, it's not always going to be you know, accepted, and it's not always going to be implemented. But really, sometimes people need to hear these things over and over and over again before they're really going to be ready. And I am definitely have seen that over the past, you know, 5.5, 6 years, and just truly believe that eventually people will catch on, right? It might take a while, but it's going to take us knowing more about it, taking care of ourselves better, and really letting that show, right? There's nothing better that can be a testimony than when you're in great health and your family is, and you're happy and healthy. So we want to just thank you for joining us tonight. We're excited about this. I hope that you've learned a little bit about how, you know, what integrative medicine is, why we need to change, how you can join in this movement, and what the future looks like. We have a special invitation that we'll pull up here. There we go. If you are actually a healthcare provider, we have a follow-up call next Wednesday. That's October the 10th at 8:30. And it's going to be on the same link, I believe. Is that correct, Julie? Okay, so you might want to save this link. We'd really love for you to reach out to us if you want to be on this call, just to make sure you have the correct link and can join us. But we want to just help you serve your patients better and help you understand how you can be part of this movement and what steps that you can take to do that. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and we'd love to answer any questions, or if anybody has any comments.
Yes, Carrie.
Yeah.
Do y'all know if there's going to be massage therapists at the clinics or not?
Have you heard that, Julie?
I have not heard if they will have someone like that in-house there or not. I mean, I know that will be one of the alternatives that the providers will be recommending, but I'm not sure if they'll have somebody in-house or not. That'd be awesome.
Yes, it would. Barbara asked if she can share this video. Yes, we're going to post the recording in that same event on Facebook. And if you have any problems, just message one of us or us on our brand page, and we'll be happy to send you the recording. And if really, if you're listening now and there's anybody that you think of, like, wow, this person would love this information, please share the recording with them. We would love for you to do that. And if they're a healthcare provider, you can invite them to the call next Wednesday as well. I'm glad you could join, Rebecca. Is the meeting next week for prescribers, or can pharmacists join? Yes, anybody in the healthcare field can join in.
And Samantha asked if you would be able to share the healthcare provider video. Yes. So if you have a healthcare, are you asking, can you share it with another professional, with another healthcare professional? No, sorry. Will you be able to share the healthcare provider video as well?
Oh, yes, we will record the call next week. I think that's what you were asking. We'll definitely record that. And
I will be able to see that, and I would love to hear that info.
Yes, sure thing. I'm glad you joined, Danielle. Yes, I think it's an awesome new adventure as well. I'm excited. Well, thank you all for joining. We wanted to try to keep it under an hour. We were 5 minutes shy of that, I think. And we look forward to seeing some of you next week. And if you have any questions, comments, anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.